trashed by more people or anything like that.
It's not trashed by more people. What you're saying is not correct. It's not trashed by more people.
I'm not saying it is.
Picture this. It's 1994, the set of Pulp Fiction, and Bruce Willis is screaming at Quentin Tarantino so loudly that the entire crew stops working. Security has to step in. The movie that would change cinema forever almost fell apart because of one explosive confrontation that Hollywood tried to keep secret for decades. But here's what shocked me the most. Willis wasn't even the worst conflict Tarantino ever had with an actor. I'm about to reveal the 6 Hollywood superstars who went to war with the most powerful director in the industry. And trust me, some of these behind-the-scenes battles make reality TV look tame. We're talking career-ending arguments, million-dollar walkouts, and industry legends who refuse to speak each other's names even today. How many of you knew that Will Smith was originally cast in Django Unchained? Or that George Clooney and Tarantino's on-screen chemistry in From Dusk Till Dawn was completely fake? They actually despised each other. Before I count down these 6 explosive feuds, hit that subscribe button because Hollywood doesn't want you to know these stories, and I've got the inside scoop that'll change how you watch these movies forever. Number 6. Chevy Chase, the guy who made us laugh in National Lampoon's Vacation and dominated Saturday Night Live in the 70s. Seems harmless enough, right? Wrong. Tarantino saw Chase as everything toxic about Hollywood comedy. While other directors laughed along with Chevy's antics, Quentin saw right through the charm to what he called cynical entertainment poison. Here's what happened. Back in the 1990s, producers were trying to get them together for a potential collaboration. Imagine Chevy Chase in a Tarantino film. But when they met, Tarantino took one look at Chase's approach to filmmaking and basically said, "This guy treats movies like extended SNL sketches." The real drama came during a Hollywood party where Chase apparently made some dismissive comments about Pulp Fiction, calling it pseudo-intellectual garbage. Word got back to Tarantino, and his response was legendary. He told a room full of industry executives, some actors mistake smugness for intelligence, and some comedians think acknowledging the camera makes them clever. Everyone knew he was talking about Chase. But wait until you hear what happened between Tarantino and our number 5 pick. This one involves a role that could have changed cinematic history forever. Number 5. Will Smith, the Fresh Prince. One of the biggest movie stars on the planet, and the man who walked away from what could have been the role of a lifetime in Django Unchained. You probably thought Jamie Foxx was always Tarantino's first choice for Django, right? Think again. Will Smith was not only offered the role first, he was practically begged to take it. The meetings started great. Will was excited, Tarantino was thrilled, and everyone thought we were about to witness cinematic magic. But then they started talking about the character, and that's when everything went sideways. Smith wanted Django to be a traditional hero, a clear good guy, saves the day, audience cheers. But Tarantino insisted that authentic storytelling meant Django had to embrace some seriously dark impulses. We're talking about morally complex choices that would make audiences uncomfortable. According to producer Stacey Sher, Will wanted Django to be more traditionally heroic, while Quentin insisted that authentic storytelling required embracing the character's darker impulses. The breaking point? Smith allegedly requested script changes to soften Django's more questionable decisions. When Tarantino heard this, he questioned whether Will had the courage to fully inhabit such psychologically demanding material. Can you imagine if Will Smith had played Django? How different would that movie have been? Let me know in the comments. Do you think Will made the right choice walking away? But our next conflict makes the Django situation look like a friendly disagreement. Number 4. Kevin Costner versus Quentin Tarantino. This is like watching 2 completely different visions of American cinema go to war. Remember, this was the 90s. Costner had just won Best Picture for Dances with Wolves. He was Hollywood royalty, and he represented everything classic and noble about American filmmaking. Tarantino, he was the new kid disrupting everything with violence, moral ambiguity, and characters who made you question everything you thought you knew about heroes. These 2 couldn't have been more opposite if they tried. The conflict wasn't about one specific movie. It was philosophical warfare. Every time Costner made another earnest historical drama about noble protagonists, Tarantino would basically roll his eyes and talk about how Hollywood was feeding audiences dramatically dishonest versions of American experience. Their few interactions at industry events were legendary for their barely concealed contempt. Picture this: award show after parties where they'd be polite to each other's faces, then immediately trash each other to anyone who'd listen. Screenwriter Roger Avary, who worked with Tarantino during his breakthrough period, said, "Kevin embodies everything Quentin considers wrong with prestige film. He sees someone who mistakes earnestness for depth and confuses moral simplicity with dramatic sophistication." The rivalry got so intense that they were literally competing for similar historical projects throughout the 90s and early 2000s. It was like watching two different philosophies of American storytelling battle for the soul of Hollywood. But even that philosophical war zone couldn't compare to the on-set tension of our number 3 conflict. Number 3, George Clooney. George Clooney and Quentin Tarantino, in From Dusk Till Dawn. On screen, they had chemistry. Behind the scenes, they could barely stand each other. This should have been a perfect match. Clooney was emerging as a major movie star. Tarantino had written this wild vampire thriller, and Robert Rodriguez was directing. What could go wrong? Everything. The problem started with their completely different approaches to playing criminals. Clooney wanted to find the humanity in his character, give the audience someone to root for. Tarantino insisted that the story's power came from refusing to judge these criminals or provide easy moral escape routes. According to director Robert Rodriguez, George kept trying to make his character more sympathetic, while Quentin insisted that the story's power came from refusing to judge these criminals. But here's where it gets really juicy. Clooney started expressing concerns about some of the script's more extreme violence. He wanted to tone things down, make it more accessible. When Tarantino heard this, he had what witnesses described as a volcanic response. The on-set tension got so bad that Rodriguez had to play diplomatic referee between two strong personalities who fundamentally disagreed about what movies should do to audiences. Every scene became a negotiation. Every take became a potential argument. The crazy part, watch From Dusk Till Dawn today, and you'd never guess these two men were at each other's throats. That's the magic of professional acting, folks. But if you think Clooney gave Tarantino a hard time, wait until you hear about Edward Norton. Number 2, Edward Norton. Brilliant actor, intellectual powerhouse, and the man who drove Quentin Tarantino absolutely insane without ever raising his voice. This conflict is fascinating because both men are genuinely brilliant. Norton's the guy who can analyze a script like a literature professor, and Tarantino's the guy who treats his screenplays like sacred texts. You'd think they'd be perfect collaborators, right? Dead wrong. The problem was Norton's reputation for extensive script analysis and suggested rewrites. He approaches every project like he's earning a PhD in that character. Meanwhile, Tarantino treats his dialogue and character development as untouchable art that achieves perfection through his own obsessive revision process. Producer Harvey Weinstein, who tried to broker several potential collaborations between them, explained it perfectly. Edward approaches scripts like academic texts requiring scholarly analysis. Quentin treats his screenplays like sacred documents that achieve perfection through his own obsessive revision process, not through outside input. Can you imagine the meetings? Norton probably showed up with color-coded script notes and character backstory analysis, while Tarantino sat there thinking, this guy wants to rewrite Quentin Tarantino. What made this conflict particularly disappointing for movie fans was how their combined talents should have produced extraordinary dramatic partnerships, but their inability to establish a creative hierarchy prevented any productive collaboration. The tragedy is, we'll never see what Norton could have done with Tarantino's dialogue, or what Tarantino could have pulled out of Norton's dramatic intensity. But all of these conflicts, all of them, pale in comparison to our number 1 most explosive Tarantino feud. Number 1, Bruce Willis. Bruce Willis and Quentin Tarantino on Pulp Fiction. The conflict that almost destroyed one of cinema's greatest masterpieces. Here's what you probably don't know. When Willis was first cast as Butch Coolidge, everyone thought it was perfect casting. Action star Bruce Willis in a Tarantino film, box office gold. But from day one, these two were like oil and water. Willis wanted to understand exactly what Butch was thinking at every single moment. He needed clear character motivation, straightforward psychology, and traditional hero logic. Tarantino insisted that Butch's power came from operating on pure instinct without excessive psychological explanation. According to producer Lawrence Bender, Bruce wanted to understand exactly what Butch was thinking at every moment, while Quentin insisted that the character's power came from operating on pure instinct. But here's where the real drama exploded. Willis started challenging Tarantino's authority during filming. We're talking about questioning directorial choices, suggesting alternative approaches to key scenes, basically trying to co-direct his own character. And that's when Tarantino lost it. Witnesses describe an explosive confrontation where Tarantino reminded Willis exactly who the director was and who the actor was. The shouting match was so intense that the entire crew stopped working. Some reports say security had to step in to prevent things from getting physical. The atmosphere of mutual hostility got so bad that the production team had to carefully manage every interaction between them to prevent a complete breakdown. Every scene with Willis became a potential powder keg. But here's the crazy part. Despite all this behind-the-scenes warfare, Pulp Fiction became a masterpiece, and Willis's performance as Butch is absolutely perfect. Sometimes great art comes from creative conflict, but at what cost? The relationship never recovered. To this day, more than 25 years later, they still won't work together. Industry insiders say Willis's name can't even be mentioned around Tarantino without the director's mood changing. So there you have it, 6 Hollywood superstars who went to war with the most uncompromising director in cinema history. From Chevy Chase's smugness to Bruce Willis's on-set explosion, these conflicts reveal just how much ego and artistry can clash in Tinseltown. What strikes me most about these stories is how they show Tarantino's absolute commitment to his vision. Even when it meant burning bridges with some of the biggest names in Hollywood, love him or hate him, you've got to respect that level of artistic integrity. Now I want to hear from you. Which of these conflicts surprised you the most? Do you think these actors were right to stand up to Tarantino, or should they have just followed his vision? And be honest, how many of these behind-the-scenes stories did you already know? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed discovering these Hollywood secrets, smash that subscribe button because I've got plenty more industry drama coming your way. Next week, I'm revealing the actors who Tarantino considers his absolute favorites, the ones who completely surrendered to his vision and became legends because of it. Trust me, those stories are just as fascinating as these feuds. Until then, keep watching, keep questioning, and remember, in Hollywood, the real drama always happens behind the camera.